Yep, that's me. And you're probably wondering how I ended up in this situation. And I'm going to tell you the story of how I ended up here and why I'm risking it all for content creation. But first, let's take a step back. So I'm pretty much now 20 years into my career. I've pretty much been always working in tech, in particularly in software engineering. My last role, in fact, was director of engineering at a startup called Choco from Berlin. And I've seen different sizes, not only startups, I've seen large corporations, but also startups, as I said. And I'm also very familiar with taking risks on my own. So I started actually already a business by myself with two other friends, a startup. And it only lasted a year before it failed, but we've learned a lot during that time, and eventually it led me to my last company, Choco. So it was a good thing eventually. And yeah, 3 months ago, things changed. I needed to make a decision if I wanted to stay in the company or not. So what was the situation? So I've been working 6 years at Choco eventually, and I've seen the company grow from literally 2 employees to maybe 300 employees or what it is today. And I needed to make a decision because my role needed to change. Eventually, last year, I made also the decision to move from Berlin to Barcelona. I wasn't particularly happy in Berlin, so I wanted to explore something new and moved to Barcelona, where we also had an entity eventually. But that also meant that I couldn't operate my role as a director of engineering anymore. So they offered me a new role, and I needed to think about, like, did I want to take this role, or did I want to explore something new? And a year prior to this decision, there was already a seed planted in my head, namely the seed of content creation. Because back then, I was already thinking of creating some content on the side because, I was always drawn to the camera and always seen as a good public speaker. So I thought, like, I should make use of this skill somehow, right? Not only speak publicly whenever it occurs in the company. So I wanted to create content in particular around communication and leadership in software engineering. But then things kick in, and the reality is startups are very demanding. And so I did not find the time nor the energy to actually do anything in that time. But the idea didn't let me go. And it was only end of last year when it really kicked off again, when a group of friends and I were joking around that we should create something together eventually, etc. So when I needed to make that decision, all the different signs came together, and we'll talk about more deeply about what those different signs are throughout my career and life, showing me that I think I want to take a new path. In particularly, I wanted to start a business. I wanted to have something by myself. I didn't want to employ myself again, even though I was earning a six-figure salary, a good six-figure salary eventually, right? I thought I think it's better to create something by your own, run the business by yourself, own the successes and the failures of the company. So no matter what, right? That's the step that I wanted to take. And I had this conviction, right? And we'll talk about more deeply about conviction later. But what that led me to is that I needed to forge a path. So I was in the decision-making process. I was convinced I needed to do this, but I didn't see a path. And that path brings us back to these 4 friends where we were joking around about, and with 3 friends. And with those 3 friends, that's with whom I started Onchain Journal. That's the channel that already exists next to this one, and that we are going to talk about on this channel primarily, in the learning journey around it. Onchain Journal eventually is a crypto channel. It's in the crypto niche. And I see your eyes rolling there, but hold on a second. Yeah, it will make all sense. Just let me explain. You're thinking probably, oh, another crypto influencer or whatsoever. But no, I'll explain a bit. So it was last year when we started, when I personally started getting deeper in the crypto space. And it's a very complicated space if you want to go beyond Bitcoin and Ethereum and understand a bit more. And the reality is the realm of content creators in crypto is very dishonest. There's a lot of focus when it comes on wealth building and getting rich, and like these are the top 5 meme coins. You don't sleep on this project here, all those kind of things, right? And I feel there's a lack of education in that space and a bit of down to earthness, if that's even a word. So that's why we created Onchain Journal. On top of that, it gave me a very clear niche with a very clear picture of how to proceed in content creation and starting a business, because the crypto space gives you a very clear boundaries and idea of like how to eventually build products around it that you can monetize later on. And I could basically learn a lot on that journey. But the overall overarching goal was to create a business, of course, that goes beyond Onchain Journal. And that's still the goal to this day. So creating a business, a media business, where maybe other different areas come into play and where I can maybe also talk about different other stuff, right? As we mentioned, I've like been long enough around, I've seen a lot of things and experienced a lot of things. I've been director of engineering, I've moved different countries, and I think generally speaking, I like to believe that I've been a good leader and a good influence and for the people that were around me eventually. And I want to share that advice maybe in some form whatsoever, maybe on this channel if it fits in as well, and whatnot. So now with Onchain Journal, we hit 100 subs. I mean, that was last week. Now we're like 145 subs, and I've uploaded 27 videos. And I thought that's a little milestone, and I want to create the second channel. And it was initially already the plan to start off with 2 channels, Onchain Journal, but this one as well. And this channel is supposed to focus around the journey of creating Onchain Journal, all the struggles and a step-by-step kind of development of how to build a business and how reality really is. Because if you look at content creators out there, they all reflect on what their experiences are and share those experiences and like how-to guides in what form and whatsoever. But you rarely see actually how it develops, and you don't know if it's actually going to succeed. I don't know if I'm going to succeed. Might as well be that like in 3 months' time, we can all carry on with our lives or not, but hopefully not, right? So fingers crossed. And I want to find also people who I can connect with. It's particularly hard to find people that are in a similar stage and similar mindset in your life. So I want to find and connect with other fellow content creators who can help me or who I can help as well. Anyhow, so that's how Onchain Journal was born, and it gave me a path that directed me to the decision to leave the company and take that risk once again. So tying things back to the title, yes, I have 20K left in the bank. I've pretty much burned through half of my funds at this point in time in three months or so. And by my current burn rate, I'm probably running out of money in 4 months' time. Can you believe it? Yeah. And yes, we can argue that like, hey, Gab, you should be able to sustain a way longer runway with 20,000 euros eventually. And yes, I agree. But like, also imagine I'm coming from very well paid 6-figure job and lifestyle to going to no funds at all. So eventually decisions have to be made that I will also eventually share with you at a later point in time. But eventually the takeaway of this video is conviction, and that's also the word in the title that I brought up. And eventually what led me to take that risk was conviction, and I wouldn't be sitting here if I didn't have the belief and the conviction that I can pull this off, right? I think conviction is in a way a different form of manifestation, because like you have a belief that like there is something that you want to pursue, right? The only thing you need to do is take that conviction and translate it into something viable, a viable path eventually. And that's what everyone can do. And sometimes I think we need to follow this conviction and see where it leads us, no matter if it's something good, if it leads to something good or something bad, right? In the end, it's an experience, a learning for yourself. And humans tend to be rather on the safe side and not take risks. And luckily, I'm in a situation where all the risk is just on me. I don't have a partner, I don't have any kids. So when I take a risk, it is all just for me, and I need to use this opportunity. But I think also for other people out there, taking a risk is a good thing, because it means you're going outside of the comfort zone, and growth only happens outside of the comfort zone, right? And every person out there needs to decide for themselves and weigh out all the different priorities in their life to make eventually that decision. But following the smell of conviction and seeing like, am I onto something? I think that is something powerful and that you should not be afraid of, because I think it can be a very powerful, positive feeling that when I said, you know, I wouldn't be here if I didn't have conviction, making that decision of leaving the company is very scary. In fact, I remember when I hung up the phone and I just had a phone call with my boss where I told him that I'm going to leave the company. I remember that I was thinking, oh my God, what am I doing? What the heck, Gab, right? You're leaving your safe space and going into uncertainty. But conviction was in the end what toned things down, what calmed me down, which told me, no, Gab, you want to do this. You're going to make it. It's going to be fine. And I think this was a very valuable lesson and feeling for myself. And now I'm wondering about your stories out there. Like, did you ever have this feeling of conviction where you had this belief that you needed to follow a certain direction? And yeah, what did it lead to? Did it lead to something positive for you, or maybe not? May well be as well. But I'm curious to hear those stories, so maybe you can drop a comment down below eventually. But yeah, you're asking also probably, why did you have this conviction in the first place? And it's a very fair question, and I think that's probably too much to talk about in this video, and we can deep dive and it can give you an idea of like all the different signs that came together and connected the dots that lead me to this very strong belief. If the video is ready, I'll probably link it here, or you'll see it already. But that's it for today's episode. So follow this journey along. We'll see where it leads to, if this business succeeds or not, if I would succeed or not, or if I need to go back to my old career. I'm curious myself. So if you like this video, make sure to give this video a like, and make sure to subscribe and hit the notification bell to see the journey along. Until then, also as a quick reminder, like, I want to actually create a community of creators. So I've created a simple, shitty Google Doc form where you can add your email address, and as soon as we collected enough email addresses, we'll create a community and I'll let you know. So if you are interested in doing that and connecting with fellow content creators, let's start something good, right? So thanks very much, and don't forget, every step is a new journey. Keep climbing and keep creating.